We'll just talk about inMorphis in just a minute or two, and then we will go to our topic of today, that is what is new in Geneva and what can break our then change UI changes and all, and especially where people will should definitely look into. So inMorphis is a young and growing organization. We are in market 3 years, and in the last 1 year in the organization, and it gave us the enthusiasm to present these webinars and all. But if you see the 4 blocks here, that's how we can define inMorphis. One is our ServiceNow in-depth knowledge. We have created thousands of asset library in inMorphis, and which lead us to reduce the time to the market. Whatever projects we are doing, whatever products we are creating, the trainings in ServiceNow, our time is lesser than any competitive player in market. And we are working right now, we are working for Fortune 100 clients. We have good amount of clients looking at our start. So we are doing pretty good. And last year was an awesome year for us. The next item which can define inMorphis is we add value. So it's a value driven company. We add value to whatever we are doing. That's why 99% of our customer always give references for our services. Third thing is we have highly skilled ServiceNow resources. I generally say that the 2 years or 3 years experience guy in inMorphis is definitely equal to 5-6 years of resource in market. And the last is we definitely focus on the capability building and knowledge sharing. So we have created so many, we published so many blogs which were appreciated by thousands of people. We generally publish it on the community, on our website. So, and we are enjoying it, and we will keep continuing. Now, let's talk about the upgrades. You know the upgrades, ServiceNow released major changes through the upgrades. You know, like 7-8 years ago, we started with Aspen, and then Berlin, Calgary, Dublin, Eureka, Fuji, and today we are going to talk about Geneva. So probably most of the companies who are working or using ServiceNow are either on Fuji or Eureka or have been migrated to Geneva. So that's why we wanted to talk about Geneva today. So I believe everyone is clear on what is Geneva. We are talking about Geneva. So it's an upgrade done by ServiceNow. Moving ahead, so we will first talk about few UI features which has been changed from Fuji or the previous version to this version, and then we will talk about few development things which ServiceNow has changed. Architecture of the development items has been changed, and some areas which can break our system if we are upgrading from Fuji to Geneva. So let's start with UI. So the UI in Geneva, I'm sorry, just give me a minute, probably it's echoing. Okay, so US16 is the UI provided by Geneva. Before that it was UI15 or UI11. So if I have seen number of our clients are still on UI11, though they have upgraded to Geneva. But I always prefer to go to UI16 because there are so many new features. When we upgrade to Geneva, actually we need to activate this UI16. So UI16, what we can do to activate it, to go to the plugins and activate a UI16 plugin. The name is mentioned here, but no need to like hard code it. We can directly go and just talk about, just activate this plugin. Uh, so I wanted to show you a few screenshots which where we can compare UI15 versus UI16. So UI15, you can see there is a navigation panel, dashboard, and there was a edge at the left hand side where we can use it as a bookmark, right? But if we go to the US16, you can see a base black color UI which is attractive, and there are changes in the left navigation panel itself. On the header itself, there are so many other changes. We are going to talk about it, and we are going to see it in the next slide. But you can compare between UI15 and UI16. The good part here is that we can switch between UI15 and UI16. So from UI15 we can switch to UI16, and from UI16 we can switch back to UI15, and vice versa. So moving ahead, let's talk about the features which we were talking in the last slide. So this is again the UI15 which you are able to see right now on the screen, and see the left navigation panel. It was a fly-in, that is the fly-in navigation, where we have a filter navigator, and whenever we used to type, let's say, ABC or incident or problem, that particular application or module used to come. But if we talk about the navigation of UI16, that means Geneva, it is a tabbed left navigation panel. You can see there are 3 tabs. First tab is the same thing, that means the fly-in, what we were seeing in UI15. That means whenever we click on this particular first tab, then we can see all the application and modules. This is a star. Star means the favorite. So whatever is our favorite, we can store it here. And the third one is the clock. That means the history. So the person can see the recent selection and all. We can collapse it as well. So the left edge is not there right now in Geneva or UI16. We have this tabbed version. Sometimes I generally call this UI16 as a tabbed UI. So everywhere, if you see, there are tabs, whether it is the left navigation, whether it is on the studio, whether it is at different places. Everywhere you will find the tabbed version. So the whole UI, if I will define it in one line, that is the tabbed UI. Moving ahead, so yeah, I missed that. So left side you are seeing whenever we collapse, this is the view we generally get in the UI16. So it's a beautiful UI and rich look and feel. Moving ahead, again on the UI side, on the left navigation panel, there are some tips given here. So basically, if we wanted to store the history, which is the clock, for a longer time, we can set up this property, which is glide.ui.nav.historyLength. The other tips is, you remember, right? We used to write incident.list in Fuji, that means UI15, and automatically on the right side panel, a list of incident used to come. If I will type, let's say, incident.list, then a list will come, right? But it is not possible in UI16. When we type incident.list, for an example, we have to press the enter to get that list. And automatically system also shows, you can see it here, that press enter to open the incident list in a new window. Similarly, dot form and small list. So these are a few changes. Moving ahead, again you can see the UI15. I have this UI15 on the screen, where we can set the settings of the system. So end user can make some choose some settings, and that was again the flying in system setting pop-up. We used to click on this gearbox, and this fly-in was coming in, right? But if I switch to the UI16, and yeah, one more thing I wanted to show it here. Sorry. Yeah, one more thing I wanted to show it here is switch to UI16. You can see a button over here, right? So if you are in UI15 and click over there, then it will switch to your UI16. But now let's see uh, how the UI16 look like. So you can see again the tabs, right? So whenever we click on this gearbox, there are the tabs, so ServiceNow has segregated all these options which were coming earlier into the categories. So general, theme, form, notification, and developer. This developer tab is only visible to the developers of ServiceNow. On the general side, we have, let's say, what is the date, time format, time zone, and all. We have the developer. You can see that in the developer tab, the developer can select what are the applications, what are the update set, whether we have update set picker in header or not, and all. We have number of other themes now which were not present in Fuji. So beautiful themes, we can use any of them, and user can select as per wish, which can give a different look and feel. Forms and notification are similar, like as the name suggests. Notification is what type of notification, or whether they wanted to get the notification or not, right? In the form, whether a tabbed related list should be visible or not. So those are the changes in the system setting. So moving ahead to the next one, in UI15, which is right now in your screen is the UI15, where we used to have welcome, the name of the person, then assign, where after clicking on that we used to impersonate the other user, right? If I'm an admin, and there is a lock, so we used to elevate our privileges by clicking on this. But if we have switched back, we have, sorry, not back, we have switched to the UI16. You can see there is a photo. Then they have given a pop-up saying, okay, if you wanted to impersonate, then click on impersonate, elevate role, and all. So rather than on the left side, which used to come on the before the left navigation, now it is in the middle and with a photo ID and all. All right, now moving ahead. So that was the UI portion, and now we are going to the next. That means some changes in the URL and all. This particular feature which is on your screen, please give attention to it. It's a long-awaited feature of ServiceNow. In UI15, which is on the top, you are seeing that there is a URL in the browser, right? So this was the UI15 version where the URL was not complete. So whenever I'm clicking on a particular form, I'm clicking on a catalog, I'm clicking anywhere, this type of URL used to come. But in UI16, they have given the full URL. So if I click on any record, any catalog, anywhere, it gives us the full URL. And what do you think? What is the benefit? Benefit is that I do not need to right-click, copy URL. I can directly go to the browser and select this, and I will get the URL. So that is very, I think, very significant change and very useful change in US16. Moving ahead, now we are going to talk about, in a couple of slides, we are going to talk about the specific for the developers, where we are going to talk about the studio, which is new in ServiceNow in US16, and then we are going to talk about some web services and few more features which were there earlier but has been enhanced a lot. For this, I would like to invite Gaurav, that is again development lead in inMorphis. So I will just give the control to Gaurav, and I will come back once he completes his session. All right.
Thanks, Soham, to giving the controls. So most awaited feature of ServiceNow is Application Studio. The person who has worked in Java, .NET, they are using IDE, rich web IDE like Eclipse, NetBeans, Visual Studio, and those guys are missing this type of functionality in ServiceNow. Now, ServiceNow has given this type of functionality in Geneva release. The beauty of this studio is that if you are developing something and you get interrupted by session timeout or internet outage, or your browser page is refreshed, when you automatically open that page again, then you auto recover your lost work. This is the beauty of ServiceNow Application Studio. Let's see a glimpse of ServiceNow Application Studio in the next slide. Then we will move to the demo. This is our application studio in ServiceNow, that how we are managing in our application in a centralized place, our business rules, our table, our structure, everything will be in a single place, like in our Eclipse and in our Visual Studio that we are doing. Let's move to our demo. This is our Geneva version. And let's see some UI properties that Soham has talked about. This is my left navigation that they have changed it. Previously it was in white, but now it is in dark structure. Now the setting pop-up has been changed. When I click over setting pop-up, it will give me a model pop-up. Instead of fly in, it will give me a model pop-up. From here, I can switch back to UI15 in a developer perspective. If I click here, I can enable update set picker. I can enable application picker. No need to write custom UI script to bring them in my header. I can have form. I can have different type of notification. For connect application, I can have different type of themes. And in journal, these are journal configuration. Here we are seeing that our impersonate button and elevated rules moved under my user menu. Even you guys are saying the green dot, it means I am online. For accessing Studio, we need to type Studio in the left navigation, and when I click over it, it will give me a page from where either I can create a new application or either I can view my already created application. This will be my view of Studio. From here, I can access my table. I can access my table list layout. I can access my business rule. I can access my user roles. I can access control list, application menu, modules. Even I can create new application file. Either I can create form UIs. I can create business rule, script include, processors, workflows. I can have the integrations as well. Means REST web services, SOAP web services, and I can create custom content management as well. Okay, that's different functionality what they have integrated in Studio in Geneva as well. It's real-time syntax checker. Previously, we are not having this type of functionality in ServiceNow, but for some extent we can use that. But here it is. But here we can have more power in Studio. You see, we are having a red dot here. It is saying that we are missing something. Some error is there, and if the dot is yet orange, then it means we are missing semicolon. This is a real-time syntax checker that we want in our IDE. Second, autocomplete or intelligence. We are missing intelligence a lot, and in Geneva they have given us our intelligence. where sorry for the interruption. Now here I can have GS dot. When I click dot, automatic pop-up will appear and I have all the functions available in my GS functionality. Once I'll select anything and it will give me a pop-up as well to fill up that particular information. Here I can specify my property name to get the property value, and see it is again giving me a indication that my semicolon is missing. If I put my semicolon, it is gone. Another change they have made in Geneva is that they have modified the help section as well. You can type help, even you can click over this help button as well. Editor key map has been changed totally in Geneva version. This is all about Studio. We have seen the real-time syntax checker. We have seen intelligence. For intelligence, if it's not coming automatically, you have to press Control plus space. One more thing we need to remember, that still there are some issues in intelligence, that if you are having a reference type field, then we cannot have dot working for that reference type field in intelligence. Hotkeys, we have already seen hotkeys combination that they have been changed in Geneva version. Scripted REST API. These are the most awaited functionality we need in ServiceNow. Now we can have a scripted REST type web service in ServiceNow. These are logical level APIs which are totally different APIs. We can create an abstract API that does not require any knowledge of implementation of our table. We can write our custom script. We can even make these APIs as a public API. The structure to access these APIs will be instance name / API / namespace / API underscore ID / resource underscore path. Name underscore space is a read-only value, and if your application is in global scope, then it will get value from Glide app creator company code property, and if your application is a scope application, then the value is scope application name. API ID is the value of API ID field on the scripted REST API record. Resource path is the relative path defined for the resource. Let's see a demo. In the left navigation, I have to write REST, and from here I can create a scripted REST API. I have already created one scripted REST API. Here I have provided my app ID. My app space name is 196s because I am using my development instance, and if you guys are using your development instance, this API namespace will be different. This is the base API path. In the security tab, we can define our own ACLs that will work over this scripted web services. Even we can override the request format as well as response format. Here I have request format as a application/JSON, and my application response format will be application JSON, XML, and text XML. Once we have defined this API, scripted REST API, then we have to define the resource for this scripted REST API. Here I have already defined one resource. You can define as many number of resources you want, but those resources will have only 6 different HTTP methods. Those methods will be get, post, put, patch, and delete, not more than that one. This is my resource path, and this is our relative path. This curly braces, these will be our path parameters. In my script, I have defined a script here that will only return the path value that I have provided in my application. Now I have made this scripted REST API as a public, so no need to put any authentication for that. I can check this scripted REST API in my advanced REST client application or even REST API Explorer or any other tool. Here it is my path. It's ServiceNow instance name, API, resource name, namespace, ID, and it is my path parameter. That is sys ID inside curly braces. When I click over it, 200 OK, and it gave me the value. This is all about scripted REST API. REST attachment API. In Geneva, what they have given one feature, we can handle attachment via attachment API. We can even create attachment via post. We can get the metadata of attachment via get operation, or even we can delete attachment via delete request. This is how it will look into API Explorer. Let's see it in demo, how it will work. In my REST API Explorer, I have selected attachment API and I want to retrieve metadata. Here I can specify the sysID of attachment. The sysID of attachment, I got it from my attachment table. I just right click and copy the sysID and paste it here, and I send the query. Status code is 200 and I get all the data in my response body. Even I get the link to download this attachment. See, I got
Muted. Unmuted.
This is how we can access attachment via our REST attachment APIs. Course, we have defined our REST APIs, but what about their security? Suppose we have created a REST API and only one client will gonna use that API. So why we are allowing other to access that API? So CORS give us power to configure CORS rule, cross origin resource sharing rules, to allow access to only certain API to certain clients. Even we can restrict the methods and the headers from other domain. In the screen, I have said only *inMorphis.com will be able to access this get attachment API, and only get method they will be able to use. I am inside inMorphis intranet, so that's why I am able to get access that web service. ServiceNow Service 360. Prior versions of Geneva, we are having service portfolio management, but in ServiceNow Geneva release, they have extended that application and they have made up a new application, Service 360. The Service 360 gives me the answer of the following question: are my services operational? Are my services secure? Or are my services cost effective? The Service 360 is a single placed centralized dashboard from where I can view what my service is performing, where is the lag, what my poor performing services, and I can identify the area of remediation. These dashboards are made up using D3.js, powerful data visualization tool. Next new application is service mapping. Formerly, this service mapping application is known as Service Watch, which is a standalone product. It is having its own database, its own logic, its own credential store, and its own UI. But in ServiceNow, they have integrated it as their internal part. Service Watch or service mapping maps the dependencies based on the connection between devices and application. We use the service mapping in discovery processes to identify the CIs, to identify their parts, to map the CIs. Now in service mapping, they are using UI, which is totally HTML based. In prior version, means in Service Watch, the collector are totally independent. But in Service Watch, in service mapping, they are using mid server as a collector. Also, Service Map use ServiceNow credential store instead of using its own credential store. ServiceNow Connect, it is the replacement of legacy chat application. The legacy chat application, they have improved a lot of performance. They have improved the communication. That legacy chat application is some very slow, but now they have made it very good. You can collaborate with teams, you can share the ideas, you can share the documents, you can see who is online, and you can see who is updating the records. You can check instantly. This cloud management, this application has been renamed. Cloud provisioning has been renamed to cloud management to more accurately reflect the product offering. It provides the rich functionality to provision cloud resources. The changes made, what they have made the changes is the navigation of AWS and VMware application has been changed. Now in my virtual asset, I can access all my Amazon asset, I can access all my VMware asset, even I can access all my team Amazon assets. Edge encryption. In prior versions of ServiceNow releases, if an organization wants to protect its sensitive data, then organization need to integrate a third-party tool with ServiceNow. But now in Geneva release, they have given an application known as edge encryption. That edge encryption is a proxy server by which if we enable this plugin, then we will not be able to see the data stored in ServiceNow in a plain text until and unless we are not going with proxy server. The edge encryption keys are defined and kept by customer itself. So ServiceNow has provided an extra layer of security for our data. Knowledge management. I think all of you have gone through with the Quora side. Stack Exchange, Stack Overflow to see how the UI they are using. They have a voting section. You can vote for question. You can vote for answers as well. In knowledge management, in Geneva release, they have made this type of UI. Here you can see in my question, I have a views, I have an answer. I can give the voting section to the views as well. There is another plugin that they have changed. This plugin is known as Notify. In prior versions of prior version of ServiceNow, in Notify, the user will be notified only via emails only, or in some country only via SMSs. But now, in Geneva releases, they have collaborated this Notify application with Twilio. Now it's very easy to send text messages and set up call immediately when certain event happen. For example, suppose any incident came and it's a very high priority incident. You can set up a conference call with stakeholders. Even you can notify when certain change has been implemented to the users as well. We can also integrate this with Apple Watch. It's out of the box. All of these are what ServiceNow has changed. Now there are certain places that we need to look into it. Some issues may come up. One thing, that double clicking on all application tab will give you the power of collapsing and expanding your application modules. In UI16, split layout is no longer exist. If you switch back to UI15, you will be able to utilize the split layout, but if you come back to UI16, then split layout is gone. The same goes with the edge, power edge as well. Next point is we can have related list to external tables. Means of this statement is that if we are having a custom application and we want to change the global application in our custom application itself, but we don't want to interrupt that global application for other users and other application, then we can have this functionality. Export set. In prior versions of Geneva, in prior versions of ServiceNow, we used to write schedule data job, schedule data export to allow our data to be exported from ServiceNow to our mid server. But now it's already been done in ServiceNow. For us, we just need to give the path, and we just need to select the mid server, and we just need to select the timing, and everything is done. The most area we need to look into it, that $prototype element selector powered by prototype.js will not work in UI16. If we switch back to UI15, then this $prototyping will work. In UI16, it will not work. Let's see a demo. Here, I am getting the ID of this application picker, and with the help of prototype.js element selector, I'm trying to retrieve its value, and it is saying dollar is not a function. So the workaround is I can use $J, or even I can use $element prototype selector. You can use this $J. This is ID type, so I have to put this hash, and it is now giving me the values. Even we can use $, to get the same result. That's it for Geneva updates. Now I'm giving control back to Soham. Soham.
Thank you. Thank you, Gaurav, for giving some technical insight of Geneva. So if I just do an overview, what we covered today was we started with the UI changes which came in Geneva from the left navigation panel, the tabbed UI, and then we went into the impersonation and the elevated role, right? Then we moved to the studio, which is a new development platform provided by ServiceNow in Geneva. And then finally, we went into the scripted web services and the 3 or 4 new applications. So I believe that's all for the Geneva. Please let us know if you have some questions. All right, so we are going to mail this PPT and we are going to send the recorded session after this webinar. So thank you everyone for joining. Thanks. Bye.